When they call your name, and then during your speech, you have to shout me out, right? I'm a champ. I'm ready for another. Well, I'm 18 years old. You got a lot of time to take a quick game on Saturday. Hey, what happened? Yeah.
She's been stirring.
Planting seeds.
So it's good. How are you?
Doctor here, that's there. Close, but you should drive on those.
Oh no, it's going to be a big sheet. That word, you got to take that word.
I know.
I can ask for somebody to do it. So let me answer this. I got to call it. He's ready to go for it. I talked to he said now we don't have to watch.
Oh, Doug was not Doug.
No.
Really, a lot of these middle school
They're all the lady that puts her hands are all 59. But the problem is her
All rise. Hear ye, hear ye, hear ye. This Honorable Commissioners meeting in Roane County, Tennessee is now in session. The Honorable Chairman Shannon Hester presiding. God bless these United States, the great state of Tennessee, in this honorable meeting. At this time, Commissioner Hooks will lead us in prayer. Afterwards, please remain standing for the pledge to our nation's flag.
Let us bow our heads. Our Father, it's again that we've come to you, Lord, and thankful of another time, Lord, that we can meet in the chamber, Lord, to discuss the business that comes before us to make our county a stronger county, to help our state to be a better state. Lord, I pray, God, that you bless each and every one that gave up their time to come this way. Father, but most of all, we're thankful, Lord, for your Son, Jesus, that he went and died for us, that we might have life and have it more abundantly. Now, Lord, I turn to those that have a need here this evening. Lord, that may be sick. Lord, that death may have entered the home. Lord, Father God, we pray for comfort. Lord, Father, for those families. Father, and those flood victims, Lord, whether it be in Florida, Georgia, Tennessee, North Carolina, Lord, we pray for them. Lord, bless this meeting as we go on further. In Jesus' name, amen.
Amen. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. You may be seated, and please silence your cell phones. All right. Good afternoon, good evening. First thing we're going to do is open it up for public hearing. We did have two zoning resolutions up to discuss, but only have one. So the zoning resolution that we're going to discuss first is 102402 Zulu. You'll find that in your packet as well. So at this time, I'll open the floor up to the public to speak. If you come up and speak, make sure you tell us where you're from and tell us your name and address, please. So at this time, the floor is open for anyone to speak.
Good evening. My name is Sammy Jones. My wife and I own the airport here in Kingston. We bought the airport about 4 years ago in a state of neglect and have recovered it and invested about $700,000 in our community to get it back operational and get it cleaned up and back where it's not an eyesore as it was a few years ago. The request before the commission that we went before the zoning board on a few weeks ago is the airport is currently about 30 acres. It is currently zoned C2. If we went for a request to add an additional 5 acres on the northern boundary and get it zoned C2 also. And what the plan was, or the plan is to build additional hangars and make an additional taxiway on this piece of property that is attached to the current airport. That piece of property is bounded by a tree line. It's basically hidden from the road, hidden from any houses around it other than to the airport. We work closely with the county zoning and building codes folks in planning this, and been very open during the whole process. We've enlisted a respected engineering firm in Knoxville, Robert Campbell Associates, and they're doing all the planning, all the stormwater mitigation, utility work, everything needs to be done to support this. It'll have underground utilities, underground both water and electricity, and we're working with the zoning folks to look at alternatives for sewer if we need it. As I said, we put over $700,000 into the airport. We've got additionally, since we bought the airport and people became more confident that it wasn't going to close and not be there anymore, then additional construction of over $1 million has been done in the last 4 years, and it's ongoing right now. There's additional hangars under construction. At the zoning meeting, a couple of things came up from our neighbors and some of the folks in our community. There is one primary issue was the fact that these little airplanes use 100 low lead fuel. And there's not much we can do about that. However, the federal government and the FAA has been testing alternatives, and as soon as they approve them, they're going to mandate them. And that's probably going to happen in the next couple of years, so that issue will go away. It's already being tested at numerous airports around the country. So I think that's an issue. And additionally, I know most of you know that Oak Ridge was talking about an airport out at the OK Colton site. And they did it, which I think is now shell, but they did an environmental assessment for that airport, which would be orders of magnitude bigger than our little place in Kingston, and there was no environmental issues identified by the federal government in that environmental assessment. The other issue is what brought up was noise, which is always going to be around any airport, whether it be McGee, Tyson, or Kingston. But one of the things we did since then is I took all those issues and I sent a letter out to everyone at the airport and cautioned them about minimizing noise when they can. There are some techniques they can do, and I've had personal conversations with several of pilots about that. The other thing we did is we invited all of our neighbors, and we had some neighbors approach us and said they'd like to have a meeting at the airport and come out, and I think a couple of commissioners came out. And we walked through and gave a tour and showed them everything we were doing, and just being as open as we can about it. I think the expansion is going to be another about a $3 million investment over the next 4 years, and be a nice tax increase for the county. I know that's not the prime goal, but it doesn't hurt. But I'll be glad to answer any questions. And like I said, we've been just as open, as honest about this as we can.
Mr. Jones, I do have one question for you, and then I'll open it up. So the individual at the end of the runway there, you spoke with him.
Jerry Kelly, know him well.
He's had a couple of lanes in his front yard.
He has.
So what are we going to do at the end of that runway as a stopgap measure?
Well, there's always a trade-off. You got to be careful. It's just like putting guardrails for cars. I mean, if you put a concrete wall at every curve, you're going to kill people. And, same thing out on the interstate with the cables. But we're looking at some sort of arresting something that will slow those planes down and stop them. I think we've got an idea that'll work. A combination of a couple of things. One is basically a gravel pit, and you put pea gravel and put it, a couple 18 inches thick or something. The engineers are looking at it. But the idea there is just like you see it on the runaway truck lanes. You don't see it much in Tennessee, but if you've ever driven out west, they've got them all over the interstates where coming down the mountains, if a truck brakes go away, it'll run in the gravel pit and stop. So we're looking at that, and I think too, we'll probably put some sort of arresting fence at the end of it, because by that time you've slowed the airplane down. And we don't care about damage to the airplane. I don't want to kill pilots, but I don't want people ending up in Jerry's yard. And even worse is if a car's coming there, because it's right, it has to cross the road to get to Jerry's yard, but it's something we're going to address.
Okay. Mr. Berry?
Yes, sir. So how many planes do you have hanging out there now?
Probably in the neighborhood of 60, probably in the neighborhood of 60 aircraft out there.
And how many hangars do you have now?
Right now, there's about 50 hangars at the site. And this property is going to add 30.
We've got to be careful about talking about airports because we don't want to give any secrets away here.
I understand that.
But there's a shortage of hangars right now. We all know of it, and an increase in the number of pilots, right, that are getting private licenses, which means more airplanes coming probably in the next 5 or 10 years. I guess my only question would be, do you feel comfortable in that you recognize the community's complaints and have addressed those to the satisfaction? I think it passed the planning commission.
It did.
As I understand.
Well, we didn't just get to the planning commission. I listened to those folks, and in fact, talking to every one of those folks after the meeting that had a concern. And like I said, we sent out a mass email correspondence to my guys at the airport to try to minimize the noise as much as you can. An airplane makes noise, but there are some techniques we can use. Additionally, we've had some operations out there with paragliding, which is noisy and tends to be low to the ground, and we've ceased that. And there was really only one person doing that, and I've disallowed it to use the airport for that anymore.
So what would be the maximum number of aircraft that you could safely take care of?
Probably in the neighborhood of 100.
So you've got room, and the folks that have lived out there for a number of years have seen this airport go from probably 5 or 6 to the 60 that you have.
Yeah, I think one of the things a lot of folks don't realize, the airport was started in '65. It's been there 60 years. And I wish he was here. One of the founders is still coming out there. He's 97 years old. He just quit flying 2 years ago. And along with Roane County resident, Dave Stevens.
He's not the one that took Senator Yeager up, is he?
No, but,
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Chair recognizes Mr. Goss.
Mr. Jones, on a daily, what's the average number of planes that's coming in and going out?
currently, I would guess less than 5. Many days it's a 0. Most of the people out there are hobbyists. And in my hangars, I've got 28 hangars, and there's probably 4 airplanes that fly what I consider regularly, which is a couple times a month. The majority of them rarely fly. We do not have a significant takeoff and landing going on out there. And I don't expect a significant difference when we add these hangars. You know, most people, they tinker, and I akin it to a mini storage for airplanes. I tell people all the time, that's what I have. And you know what happens at mini storage is most of the time stuff goes in and that's it. And I mean, we encourage flying, and I fly. There's probably, I would say, a third of the takeoff and landings out there are me, because I have an aviation business. I operate out of Rockwood and out of Metal Lake, where we restore old aircraft. So I'm flying a lot. I'll take off in the morning, right at daylight, and I'll be going to Louisiana to look at an aircraft. Yeah, so that's routine for me, but I'm not your normal private pilot.
That's all I've got, sir. Thank you.
Mr. Ferguson.
I believe you told us in the planning commission that you didn't allow no flying at night.
We
All
don't.
during the day, right?
We don't. There's no real reason. Well, the primary reason we don't is it's safe, not safe. There's trees at both ends of the runway. There's trees along the approach end coming from the river. And somebody would get killed. Football lights. Now, they had lights at one time. They used to have what we call pilot control lighting, which is, you know, he turns it on his radio, but I'm not going to allow it. I can't. I've got enough liability out there as it is. And it's just, even as much as I fly, it's not that hard to schedule to come in during the daylight. And if we don't, 3-minute flying time away is Rockwood, and we land there. And so you just, you know, if you're going to come back at night, land in Rockwood, and have whoever's picking you up, pick you up. It's not a big deal.
Mr. Chairman, what about, you mentioned $3 million investment in the next couple of years. Is this going to be through your company in Rockwood, or is this going to be individually?
Well, it's me, but I am the company.
So I mean, so it would be.
But that's, I'll be honest with you, the airport doesn't make any money. So the investment is my money.
I guess my question,
It's
not an outside investor. It's not an outside investor that's coming in.
No, it's me and my wife.
Right, thank you.
And additionally, the airport is not encumbered one night.
Thank you.
Mr. Chairman,
Go ahead.
so what is the length of your current runway?
2,600 feet.
And what will it be?
We're probably going toward the road where we put that pit in about 200 feet. That'd be it. The other end, I'm bounded by TVA property. And it's, I mean, I fly small twin-engine planes in and out of there. We're not looking for jets. We're not looking for turboprops, big airplanes. It's just not, it's not really something for that. I don't have anywhere to park them. I don't have anywhere to fuel them. Runway's not long enough. Most of your bigger planes, insurance binders that are on them will not allow them to land in Middle Lake. They usually have like a 5,000 foot now.
Thank you.
All right, any other questions from the commission? All right, hearing none, seeing none, thank you, sir. All right, next.
Yeah, my name is Marvin Zan. I live at 271 Morning Cove Road, right at the end of the runway. They take over my house all the time, and it is noisy. And I'd like to know, do you own Rockwood Airport?
No.
Well, the Rockwood people called me, somebody from Rockwood, won't mention names, and said they was going to increase the size of this airport quite a bit, more than it is now. And I'd like to know what you say the runway is now?
2,600,
What's it gonna go to?
2,800.
28, well, that's, but anyway, you can go to my house, the wife today is hard of hearing, and you can hear this plane. They turn the props, feather them, I don't know how they do that, to make a lot more noise. And I've lived there since 1985. A regular, like Piper Cubs, you don't even hardly know they go and come. But the single engine big one, I got to know a guy that worked at Rockwood, has a plane there, and he says, Kingston, he's afraid to land his plane. He's got a single engine plane, and he will not land it. So I don't know whether he's working with this guy to bring his plane out. He goes to Florida. He's got a business in Florida, flies back and forth to Rockwood, and he's my neighbor. So it would save him considerable if he go down to this airport, which he takes a golf cart and flies to Florida. I'm in Florida now, so I'm just opposed to it. I can tell you, I've lived there all the years, and I can't understand why they need to spend all that money. If they've spent all that money, we ought to have a lot of money in the county funds, lots of money. I mean,
Tell me your address again, sir.
271 Morning Cove Road. Anybody's welcome to come out there. And it will affect my property values immensely. I guarantee it. Is there any questions?
Anyone have any questions? Thank you, sir. All right, next.
My name's Keith Skubis. I live off of Winton Chapel, outside of Rockwood. I'm a pilot and an FAA certified repairman. I own, operate, and maintain light sport aircraft at Meadow Lake. With the stated shift of Rockwood Airport to serve the needs of jet traffic, airports such as Meadow Lake become essential to the light general aviation. As a fairly long-term resident of Roane County, a major factor in my remaining as such is the availability of both hangar and airspace, which are compatible with my aircraft. I've heard several arguments against the expansion of Meadow Lake, namely that the airspace around Meadow Lake will become congested with low-flying and noisy aircraft, which will contaminate the environment with lead. I wish to provide my perspective to you. I flew 101 hours last year. A very small percentage of that time was spent in the airspace around Meadow Lake because I only conduct at most one takeoff and landing out of Meadow Lake per flight. My aircraft uses 93 octane, 100% gas. My engine neither requires nor desires lead in its fuel. The general aviation industry is making great strides toward deploying engines which either use car gas or diesel jet fuel. Under the proposed Mosaic rule, you can see that even electronic propulsion is being proposed and seen. My aircraft does have an exhaust system, and I would challenge anyone to compare its noise output against many of the powerboats seen in Watts Bar Lake. The laws governing flight allow minimum altitudes. The landing at Meadow Lake involves flying a rectangular pattern which begins no less than 1,000 feet above the ground. It's a safe and predictable practice which is designed with the safety of both those in the ground and those in the air. So again, I'd appreciate your consideration to pass this measure, and I appreciate your time.
Sir, what's your name?
Keith Skubis?
Keith
Yes,
Stevens?
Skubis. It's a Polish name.
Okay.
Skubis.
Your first name is
Keith.
Keith.
Thank you.
All right, next.
Good evening. My name's Larry Kennedy. Good evening. I've lived at 306 Walnut Grove since December the 23rd of 1969. And When we first moved there, Middle Lake was a small airport. I didn't regard it as an eyesore. I was happy it was in the community. In fact, because of that airport and the gentleman who was mentioned earlier, Mr. Stevenson, I was exposed to flying at an early age and went on to be a professional airman in the Navy. I got 300 hours in naval anti-submarine warfare aircraft. I'm also a plane captain and well familiar with aviation operations. I have no problem with an airport operating in Middle Lake. It's true, I'm right under the traffic pattern, and the noise can be more objectionable at times than I like. But my concern here is not whether or not we have an airport, but it's the rate at which our airport grows. Now, there's been some things said here this evening that I guess it's all a matter of perspective, but I guess some people don't do arithmetic the way that I do. Mr. Stubbs, where do you buy your automotive gasoline?
TJ's.
Can you truck it into the facility?
That's right.
Okay. From what I could tell about the fuel situation, and I was one of the people griping about the lead because the government says there is no safe amount of lead exposure, none. The government realized many years ago that lead was a problem, and they have been studying removing it from aviation gasolines for a very long time, and they have the answer. But there's also an exacerbating issue other than the technology, and that is the expense of having multiple grades of gasoline. Small aircraft engines, as I understand this, can run no lead or low lead. Bigger aircraft engines must have lead. Therefore, it's not economically sane at this point in time to provide more than one grade of fuel at a small airport like this, so it's always going to be lead until something changes. And I don't have any problem at all with, I do have some questions. When we moved here, that community was built as a retirement community and one of the best fishing spots in East Tennessee. Since when, and to what good is it to us that it's developed into a semi-commercial aviation facility? What good is that going to do us? That's changing our life radically. Again, a little bit's okay, but just to come in and double the population overnight, I think that it would be to the county's advantage. Let me truncate this and sit down and shut up. I think it'd be to the county's advantage if you would modulate the growth of the airport and not let it get huge overnight. Because as long as these things are belching on the takeoff and landing lead fumes, it's going to affect possibly the kids in the neighborhood, and there are a lot of kids in the neighborhood, and that's just the truth of it. They burn lead, and no exposure to lead is good. So what I would like to see is the county leadership regulate the growth of the airport so it's just not suddenly compacted with every Tom, Dick, and Harry in East Tennessee that wants to fly. I haven't talked to these gentlemen back here, but Knoxville has a huge facility. I don't understand why his aviation production facility can't be in a place that's been dealing with commercial aviation for years and years. And I don't understand exactly why Rockwood, with all the room they have, is going to limit themselves to jet traffic only. I don't understand that. And the number of hangars that I count at that facility now is not what I heard tonight. And maybe we're just looking at it from a different perspective. But my concern is, I don't think it's a good idea for Roane County to allow unregulated development, which is going to bring 5 squadrons of aircraft into this small area. It's got a ridge on 3 sides of it that affects airflow in there and bounces the noise around. And that entire valley is filled with gentlemen like the second gentleman that spoke this evening. This gentleman here, he came here because he wanted a place to live, and he was willing to tolerate a small aviation facility. I don't think anybody that I've talked to thinks it should be developed quite to the degree that Mr. Jones is wanting to. I don't think it's in our best interest, and I fail to see how there's going to be any economic return that even mandates it. Personally, I don't understand the economics of the situation, but I'm not a high-powered economic type. That suits me fine. The health and welfare of Roane County is my concern, and it always has been. I've lived here since '69, and I've been treated well here. And I thank you for your time.
Thank you. Next.
Hey, I'm Jeff Niles. I live at 199 River Road, which is right next to the airport. I also own one of the privately held hangars at the airport. My wife and I specifically moved to Roane County to be closer to the airport. When we talk about economic draws to the area and what this will provide for the county, we can talk about the people who will move to be closer to the airport. We can talk about the people who will occupy, say, those 30 hangars that we're looking at. They will travel, even if they're living outside the county, they're going to travel into the county, they're going to spend money in the county, they're going to spend money in the city of Kingston, and you're also going to have 30 pieces of property that are going to be paying property taxes that they're not going to place a draw on county resources. There's really nothing there to do other than get your hangar out and fly it, or get your plane out and fly it. As far as the noise concerns, I get those. As far as the lead concerns, I live underneath the approach, or I live underneath the pattern for runway 5 at Meadow Lake. I have 3 kids. I'm not concerned about it. I get it, I'm a pilot, so I'm gonna be a little bit biased, but the amount of lead that is in the fuel is so minimal to begin with. When you spread that out over let's say an hour flight, the amount of fuel that's burned and the amount of lead that is emitted is almost negligible. When we talk about it's flying over someone's house, there's virtually no lead that's going to come down from that plane. So I want to just say that the economic impact to the area is going to be really, really great from this. What Sammy has done with the airport has been great, and I'm just in favor of this. Thank you.
Thanks, sir. Next. All right, anyone else want to discuss or talk? Mr. Goss.
Mr. Chairman, I got another question for Mr. Jones, if people mind asking or answering. Why was it that you wanted to go 30 more hangars? Was it for future growth, or was it?
It is for the future. We get, as one of the commissioners mentioned earlier, there is a huge shortage of hangars. Any airport up and down the East Coast, anywhere in East Tennessee, there's going to be a minimum of a couple of year waiting list to get your airplane in a hangar. I get calls. We have a website for the airport. I get website requests and calls every week looking for hangars. And a lot of these people are just what Jeff mentioned. A lot of these people are people wanting to relocate to East Tennessee. Obviously, there's a huge influx of people coming into Tennessee for a variety of which we all know as we live. But they're calling saying, hey, are you going to have a hangar? Are you going to have a place where to put a hangar? And because we're looking for housing. And where are you? And they're going to draw a circle around the airport. They're going to say, I'm going to go in this circle. And it happens every week.
So 30, I mean, to you, it's your magic number, I mean.
Yeah, obviously, from a property development standpoint, I want to put as many hangars in here as I can from a development, but it's also a society issue, and then there's, we're looking at, things with zoning purposes.
That's all I've got.
Chair recognizes Commissioner Berry.
Does EPA do any kind of monitoring about the lead fuel and stuff in the air and stuff?
Well, they don't do any monitoring.
You don't have to do anything in terms of?
No, it's all based on usage. They know what we use, and they know what small planes use. And that they are addressing it. I mean, that fuel's in testing now And when he mentioned earlier that you can't afford to put more than one fuel, that's not what the way they're going. They're going to say everyone will use this fuel, and it will replace all the lead fuel. And it's being tested. They're running it.
Have there been any accidents out there over the years, fatalities or anything?
Oh, I don't think there's ever been a fatality. Ray, do you know of any? Ray's been out there for almost as long as Dave. We've had, it's just like traffic accidents. People run off the runway into the grass and stuff. And that's what happened when we discussed earlier, is a couple of people ran off the end of the runway and ended up in Jerry's yard.
So I guess just to put it in perspective, Rockwood's looking at about $11 or $12 million expansion on their airport. You're looking at 3, so that tells you what the aviation.
They're limited. It is. It's a big growth, and of course Rockwood's getting what makes it attractive. It's a longer runway. Jets, that racetrack in Garland County.
I'm just saying that shows the interest and enthusiasm.
And Madisonville's doing a huge expansion right now.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
All right, any other? Chair recognizes Commissioner Henderson.
Yes, sir. The man spoke second. You said you moved there in '68?
No, about 85.
You moved there in '85? Why did you move to Side Airport?
When I come out there, I bought the house. I always wanted to live on the lake. I went over to Angers Cove. I was a beautiful place. I went by the airport. There wasn't anything there. It was a run-down airport. You see a few Piper Cubs. The Piper Cub doesn't make any noise. But you get those ones now that's come in there. All they are is single engine. They got retractable gear on them. And they feather those props, and it just will go through the house. I'm telling you. If you don't believe it, come to my house.
Well, no, I'm not doubting you. I just didn't know why you moved to Side Airport and then get upset because planes fly over. So I just wanted to ask that.
Piper Cub, yeah, right here.
I mean, I moved by Rock Quarry and I don't complain about my pictures falling off the wall. I'm just curious, where it's coming from. Thank you.
Yeah, I'd like to ask the guy that has it. Did a guy from Rockwood Airport contacts you, want to move his plane to here?
Jack.
Yeah, Jack.
Jack would love to bring his plane down there.
He's my neighbor.
Jack would love to, but his insurance won't let him.
His plane's got a single engine plane, but he's afraid to land at that airport.
He needs more runway.
That's why you're going to build more runway, is what you're saying.
No, not for Jack.
Thank you.
All right, Mr. Chairman.
Mr. Chairman, I got one.
Chair, if you're here to speak, come on forward, ma'am. Commissioner Hooks, Cindy.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Just educating Old Country Board there, sir. Can you tell me what fuel or lead base?
The fuel, the primary fuel we use, probably for half the aircraft there, is gas, just like you put in your car, it has to have that. It's 100 octane low. And that's what the feds are working on replacing.
So if I use a 100% fuel in my backstop, help me out.
While you're using 100% gas. So what we're using is 100% gas with lead.
Go ahead, ma'am, state your name and your address.
My name's Karen Roane. I live at 103 Angers Court Road. It is right at the corner when you turn off of used to be Old 58, now it's Walnut Grove Road. And it's a little breakdown. The airport's probably about 1/4 of a mile from my house. I'm not going to go through a bunch of technical stuff because I'm just going to tell you it's very simple. Angler's Cove is almost like in a cave. In other words, it goes down until it gets finally out to the end of the road where it's got the lake and it's got the campgrounds and everything. And it's beautiful over there. And I moved over where I'm at right now, probably around 88, 89. And there was a small airport. In fact, I knew the people that owned it. We were good friends. There was a catastrophe when 911 happened. We had people trying to land planes after we were told they could not. and he actually had to go out and stand in the runway with a gun, and they still tried to run him over trying to land planes, even though the government had shut them all down. But the reason I'm calling is about this lead. To put those hangars in, they are going to have some kind of runway to get to it. Because of where we are, if you've ever looked at a picture of a field where the fog is still on the ground because it's kind of like in a bowl, that's what it's like over on Anglers Cove. So any of these fumes that he's talking about, we're not that concerned up in the air. It's the taxiing, and it's all going to be collecting down there until it actually evaporates or it mixes enough with the air. I don't have any problems with the hang gliders. I enjoy going out there and watching them. But the other ones, sometimes it sounds like they're going to land on top of my trailer. My house windows will rattle. I'm very fussy about pictures, so I'm constantly fixing my pictures because they've just been knocked off just enough. But that's my main concern, is they're talking about their testing for these non-lead gasolines. But it might be 50 years before they perfect that. It isn't going to be something that's going to happen overnight. So when you make your vote, consider that. I think the number of hangars they've got now has greatly increased from when it was 20 years ago. And I don't see how they can't just manage right now to do what they're doing. And then when they come out with this lead-free gas, then give them a thumbs up and say, okay, go build you a few more hangars. But for right now, it just seems very, it's against anything health-wise in my book. And I just want you to consider that. I have nothing against them or anything, but 30, going from what used to be 30 to now is 60, now they want to make it 90, that's a little bit too much to take. And at my age, I can't keep fixing my windows and my pictures. So I thank you for your time, and like I said, it wasn't technical, but I just want to tell you my view of it. And if you look it up on the map, I'm right at the very, very beginning of it. So, thank you.
All right, thank you, ma'am. All right, this time, is there anyone else to discuss the airport zoning? Because at this time, we want to go ahead and close out. If there's no one else to speak to it, we're going to close out the public hearing portion of that.
Mr. Chairman, just to clarify a statement that was made earlier about the exposure to lead. So I'm not saying that lead is a safe exposure, but there is a recommendation for exposure to lead for an 8-hour TWA, so, and it's 50 microcuries. So I'm not saying it's safe for people to be exposed to lead, but they are an OSHA standard. Thought I remembered it, but I had to look it up. 50 microcuries. Yes, sir.
The EPA, in its last year, has just stated there is no safe level of lead exposure. Those values that appear on the material safety data sheet, I believe the ones you're talking about, they are measuring levels, you know, an index, if you will. There is no safe lead exposure. The primary exposure to lead vapor in our environment is from general aviation aircraft and takeoff and landing cycles. It's not something that's every day, but again, we didn't come to live at a commercial airport. Yeah, we were willing to live with a few airplanes, but more important, I'm having trouble with my teeth, so you'll have to excuse me.
That's just fine, sir.
This is not an arbitrary thing. The concern is, I gave the planning commission, I didn't understand the protocol here, and it was a late time to insert any material. But when you present or expose children to lead at all, no matter how small, it starts becoming a statistical example. It's traceable back to the lead exposure. That's how the lead problem came to light in the first place. There's kids all around this place down there. There's kids in this yard, there's kids in this yard. And Joe Thrall jockey goes out here, nicest guy in the world, runs up 500 horsepower, takes out a big cloud of lead. Those kids breathe it all down 2 times a quarter, 8 times a year. I mean, no lead is good. So again, what is the benefit to our community as a whole to take a chance exposing our children to this? Thank you for your time.
Thank you, sir. At this time, we're gonna close the public. All right, we're going into the commission meeting. Madam Clerk, call the roll.
All present.
All right, this time I need a motion to approve the minutes of the September 9th, 2024 meeting. Motion by Wilson, second by Gann. Commissioner Wilson.
Nothing further.
Commissioner Gann.
Nothing further, sir.
Any discussion? Hearing none, seeing none, Madam Clerk. All right, need a motion to accept the committee reports and correspondence.
My machine's broke.
I think it is good old country boy. Did you voice vote him or?
Yeah, would you like me to tally your vote?
There you go. And if they were country boys.
Yeah, we got it.
On, off, and yes and no. I'm here for it. All right. Any discussion? All right, except, you got me.
I'm sorry.
Committee reports and correspondence, motion by Commissioner Berry, second by Commissioner Duff. Commissioner Berry.
Just a couple there. Number 8 talking about the opioid committee, and it was talking about we've only had 20 overdose deaths, which is 20 too many this year, but last year we had 53. So the good news is we're moving the needle in the right direction, and hopefully our opioid committee and our anti-drug coalition are doing the right thing there. Also, Roane County was recognized the opioid decision-making process, so we're getting some, I guess that's state recognition.
That's national recognition.
National recognition.
Johns Hopkins University, and for those of you who are attending TCSA later this week, and you may have seen it in the newsletter they sent out last week, but it's going to be recognized, that award's going to be recognized at TCSA later this week.
Okay. And then also, we need to support the Michael Dunn grant. I think we got a request to support Michael Dunn in a grant application. And then it looks like finally, Riley Creek's been mentioned a lot tonight. We finally got our approval from TVA to proceed with Riley Creek.
Correct. We have a recreation easement. The next step of this is applying for our, what permit is it? For the same as a dock permit. I can't remember the terminology on it now, but that's the next step of this. But we also have the money appropriated to begin the process of doing, the septic and the.
So does this doesn't give us that. This is a different process of grant.
This gives us long-term control of the property. There's still more permitting with TVA as we go, but it happens in parallel with us doing the planning and go ahead and spending the money to do what we've been planning on doing for many years. So this is great news, but here it is October.
So information is starting to roll now in a positive way that we've been waiting for 2 years.
This is a huge step in this process. Right.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
All right, second was by Commissioner Duff. Commissioner Duff.
Nothing further.
Any discussion? Hearing none, seeing none, Madam Clerk. Commissioner Gann. All right, motion carries 15. Notaries. Please take time to review the notaries that's listed. All right, I got a motion by Commissioner Hendrickson, a second by Commissioner Wilson. Commissioner Hendrickson.
I appreciate your willingness to serve.
Commissioner Wilson.
Nothing further.
Any discussion? Hearing none, seeing none, Madam Clerk. All right, at this time, we will be hearing, motion carries 15. We'll be hearing from our delegation, the audience. So I will say, the airport issue, we've already had a conversation on it. So at this time, anyone else would like to address the county commission on any other business, please do so at this time. Step forth and say your name. All right. Anyone want to address the county commission going for the last time? All right, I'll move on. Thank you. This time we'll take the county attorney's report.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I apologize for not being here last month. I had COVID. But as far as my report, we have court on November 1st for a lot of our nuisance and property violation cases. Secondly, as you can see from the minutes, the suit brought by the Register of Deeds has been resolved. There is a motion on the agenda concerning her budget based on that agreement. So to save time, I was going to suggest that maybe I answer questions about that when that comes up. Thank you.
All right, any questions from the county attorney?
Just a quick bit. On this salary suit, it's been a long time since we've had it. Are we in a position now that if that were to happen again, we've learned some stuff to prevent or to let us know we need to do this, it's better to go ahead and do that? Or?
Well, part of the mediation and part of the things that we discussed during the mediation was to create some procedures to hopefully make it go a little smoother next time. So I think the county executive's office is going to be working on the budget process.
It seems like we've got more in attorney's fees than we have in adjusting the salary. So, and that's good that we're putting something in place that we can do next time at least watch it.
Well, just to say, the statute's very clear that her attorney fees and the cost of the suit come out of the fees that she would otherwise turn over to the county. And that was one of the justifications for settling it. Because at that point, we were about a third of the way through the suit. If we had not resolved it, then we would have moved on to depositions, we would have moved on to hiring expert witnesses, and then we would have moved on to trial. And that would have taken a considerable amount of the fees that she would otherwise turn over to the county. So it just seemed like it made economic sense to settle it for what it was settled for. And on top of that, you could look at different salaries in the courthouse and different salaries in counties our size and justify what we settled it for.
So I don't disagree with anything except in the long run, I mean, our taxpayers are the losers because they're paying they're paying the attorney fees. I just want to make, just to see, some things in progress now that we can use if and when there's another. So I think that's the most important.
Yeah, that was the part of the mediation where we all agreed to do something like that to hopefully make the process run smoother so this doesn't happen.
That's good. That's good. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Any other questions from the county attorney? We'll move to the county executive's report.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I would like to point you all to the rundown. In this month's edition, you all are the first ones to see this, but I included my report. I'm not going to read it to you, but I am going to point out key points. The first point, you all received an email from me about 4 o'clock this afternoon. I also spoke with Mr. Jenkins and sent him an email inviting the school board. If you all remember last December, we did a joint resolution with Anderson County Commission and Oak Ridge City to work together, basically around economic development, but in general around anything regional that would help all of us continue to grow in the way that we wanted to. Our first effort to do that, the Anderson County Commission and the Anderson County School Board were planning on meeting to discuss workforce development at the K-12 level around nuclear environment or economic development.
And so honoring our joint resolution last December, they've invited you, the Roane County Commission, and the Roane County School Board to join them on November 15th at the Oak Ridge Chamber at 9 a.m. It's a Friday. So we understand that's during the day. It may make it difficult for some to attend, but it is a huge first step, I believe, in goodwill, in regionalism, in honoring the intent of that joint resolution. And the second point on there is the very next week, another meeting with the Anderson County Commission, just the county commissioners this time, meeting with DOE-EM leadership and UCOR leadership to educate you all on what all is going on with DOE across the reservation. Most of the cleanup effort is happening right now in Roane County, and they want to be able to show you that. So this would involve a presentation that I saw when I was at a conference. Well, Charlotte had to leave, but Charlotte saw it too. When we were at DC at the cleanup conference workshop, Jay Mullis, the field office manager for EM, and Ken Reuter from UCOR, president of UCOR, gave a presentation that I wanted you all to hear. So when I came back and told Mayor Frank that's what the November 22nd meeting is. So you're invited to another meeting with the Anderson County Commission following Friday, November 22nd, 9 a.m. At the UCOR offices at 701 Scarborough Road. So I felt this was a good step forward in regional approach, and I appreciate Mayor Frank making that invitation. At a third point, just let you know, several of you all got to tour the new health department and storage facility last week, 2 weeks ago. Was last week? That was last week. So you got to see it. We began moving those records. Craig's here. Craig Reinhardt, our records manager, is here. He began moving those records last week. All of the records that were at Michael Dunn Center, that at one time were right upstairs on the 3rd floor, have been moved to the new facility. So that's a huge step forward. That's vacating the Michael Dunn Center facility, and just continue to look for more evolution of our records over time. But Craig has made tremendous progress in just a little more than a month over the job. To that point too, the health department will begin moving next week on October 29th, and will be closed the 29th and 30th, and will reopen in the new renovated facility on the 31st. So if you all want a tour, we'd be glad to take you down there. I'm going to be asking Laura to refer to something here in just a second, but we're all excited about moving in down there. And remember also too that November 20th, Commissioner of Health, Dr. Alvarado, is going to be here to do a grand opening of the new health department. So that you all have received an email on that before, you will receive more of those. Commissioner Berry, to your point on broadband earlier, while we're awaiting an announcement from ECD about that, I'm requesting an ARP committee meeting ASAP. We have full clearance to move forward with what we know. We just can't announce it. We're waiting on ECD to do so. They were supposed to do it today. They told me Friday they weren't going to announce it today, but we are confident of the results of that. So I want to move forward with the ARP meeting as soon as possible.
So the public can come to that meeting?
I'm sorry?
Public can come to that meeting?
They can. I mean, we just can't wait any longer.
I understand, I agree.
We've waited since April for them to announce it.
Today was supposed to be the day.
Today was supposed to be the day. They didn't do it. We have to get that money spent. So that'll be a public meeting, and the public will get to hear what's going on then, but I can't announce it. Excited to announce Jennifer Williamson in our accounting office is our new grants coordinator. We're working on backfilling that position as we speak, but Jennifer's going to do an excellent job there. And then 2 more points. If you turn the page there, I want to thank Sheriff Stockton, Chief Hahn, Chief Phillips and his crew, Russell Jenkins and Roane County Schools, Tim Suter and EMS, all of our cities, all of our fire departments, our volunteer fire departments, for collecting 2,700 cases of water and sending that 2 different shipments to Cobb County. And I got a chance to spend a lot of time with Mayor Mathis last Wednesday, and he point blank told us that the efforts of us in Anderson County, Jefferson County, Claiborne County, Knox County absolutely got 35,000 people through a crisis so that they could have water to drink. On top of that, Sheriff Stockton sent a crew of deputies for several days in a row for rescue and recovery missions. The Roane County Rescue Squad sent supplies and assistance to Greene County. The Roane County Highway Department, Dennis Ferguson, sent a crew of 8 people and equipment to Johnson County for a week. Gene McClure in Roane County Public Utility went to a small town around Asheville to help them get their utilities restored. These are all the ways Roane Countyans jumped in. And that's not even our churches and our nonprofits collecting all this stuff. This is what we do. This is who we are. And they would have done this for us too. And this is what makes us a volunteer state. So just really proud of that. Lastly, and I know it's been a long report, but I'm going to refer to Laura Connor, who's got an announcement about an awesome award for some really special people who are sitting up here in the front row.
Thank you, Noah. You can come and join me. Every year, the Department of Health makes awards. They're called Bright Spot Awards. And there are different levels. There's a platinum, gold, silver, bronze, and honorable mention. And folks from across the department have the opportunity to nominate different programs. And I'm happy to announce that a program that, that's a copy of the nomination form, that was born from juvenile court and the Drug Coalition. It's their juvenile camp, has received a gold level award from the department. And that's based on, it recognizes different examples of meaningful and impactful primary prevention activities, especially those that really highlight the importance of partnerships and that kind of are outside the normal realm of what we all do every day. So I know we play just a very, very small role in that. So they deserve really all the credit behind it. They're the brains of the operation and have done great work for quite a while. And it's about time it's recognized. So I was happy to be able to facilitate that.
It was a great surprise that we were able to be nominated, and when Laura contacted me about it, it was just wonderful, and it was so exciting, and it really is a great partnership. We partner with so many of our community, just leaders and everything. We have Roane County Schools, that's a huge part of it. We have UT Extension, that's a huge part of it, and the health department, and then we have Roane County Anti-Drug Coalition, and it began 20 years ago. Most of those 20 years we have been able to provide the camp program, and it is really wonderful, and we just get to utilize so many programs that are within the county. We go to Main Support, we go tour Rome State, and we go to TCAT, and there's just so many individuals that take their time, provide snacks for our teenagers, or they provide time and energy, and they help these kids to learn about prevention and hope, and whether in all different kinds of levels, from health to relationships. And it's just wonderful to be nominated, and it really is a collaborative effort between all of us. So thank you, Lord.
She's she works for the.
Okay.
Leonore's fine.
Sorry, I didn't introduce myself, sorry.
For Judge Stevens to get up and speak to how, in the beginning, we were a boot camp, a physical boot camp that we did for a few years with the Drug Coalition, and it worked out really well, but that money kind of ran out, and when Judge Stevens was elected, he pivoted, and I'd like for him to talk to you about the pivot, the story behind the pivot, too.
Most of you know me. For those of you who don't, my name is Terry Stevens. I'm one of the General Sessions judges. Back in 2016, whenever there was an appointment, Judge Wicks went to criminal court, there was an appointment for Sessions. I talked to quite a few commissioners, and the only two things that were requested were a night court and that camp come back. And we have night court, and we have camp. And so whenever I didn't know anything about it. They had Anti-Drug Coalition, I think DA's office, Sheriff's Department, juvenile court, all had it set up as a boot camp. So I started asking questions and asked, kind of why it ended, and I understood that it ran out of money. And so, quite frankly, Leo and Sarah came up with a plan to get it up and going again. And the only thing that really changed was what the intent of the program was. Instead of kind of like getting people in line, those of you that know my dad, he was one of 12, grew up very poor. He's the only male in his family that hasn't gone to prison or jail. He's the only one of his 8 friends that he grew up with that's alive, that didn't go to prison or jail. And it all came because he said when he grew up, he thought, and not knocking it, the only people he knew in his life that were successful was mechanics. He didn't know anybody that did anything that had any sort of a career other than being a mechanic. It's a great career, but we know there's a lot of careers. That's all he knew. Those are the only people in his world that were successful until selling newspapers at 12 years old on UT's campus. He met the gentleman I know as my grandfather. And my grandfather made a point to buy newspapers from him, and then made sure he had food, and then later made my dad an offer that if he wanted to move down and live with him and follow his rules, he'd get him to college. And so my dad had plenty of instances where he said the only thing that is the difference between a lot of kids that are successful or not are support and expectation. That's right. Is knowing that they got support to get there, and knowing someone expects them to. And so I think Leo, Sarah might have came up with it, an acronym for CAMP is Changing Attitudes.
Child Attitude Motivation.
Child Attitude Motivation Program, and that's what we do. And the goal is from substance abuse to career focuses to some mental health, personal health, all aspects. Tell these kids that people care about them, here are some options you have, and that everybody and a ton of more people, everybody here and a ton more people that come and spend their time care and expect something out of it. And so far, it's been a very successful program with no extra county money. It's all within the school's budget, support from the Anti-Drug Coalition, individuals, and money we already have budgeted within the juvenile department. And it is very successful and very great. I'm very thankful for everybody that helps, because without Leo, without Sarah, without the health department, without the school department, quite frankly, probably the most positive thing and the thing that makes me most happy about my job wouldn't be here. So I'm very thankful for the nomination, particularly for Sarah and Leo, who've been in the program and kept it going for years. But for me, because it's something that I'll always remember for my granddad and my dad, and it's great. Thank you.
And we will also, sometime in the very near future, we'll be getting a plaque from the state. And we'll be able to share with all the health departments across the state and other community partners about the great work that's being done, so if they're interested in trying to replicate something in other areas. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. In the last page of the rundown, Laura has a full report on the health department. Lastly, Jennifer, you want a brief synopsis of your report here?
Yes. So on the second page of the rundown, it shows the snapshot of the general fund. We're still comparing last year revenues and expenditures to this year's revenues and expenditures.
You speak in your microphone, please.
Sorry.
Yes, thank you.
Do I need to start over?
No, you
Yes, please, no, speak. Please.
Okay.
Yeah.
So on the second page of the rundown?
Yeah.
Okay. So we are comparing last year's revenues and expenditures to this year's revenues and expenditures. But I also wanted to let everybody know, in case you've not went through your packet completely, number 24 in the commission packet is a summary financial statement for all events. So if you go through there and you have any questions, feel free to call me, email me, whatever, and I'll be happy to answer those for you. One more thing. I was talking to Lori, she's our payroll officer, and payroll falls on the 1st of November. So in order for the commissioners to get their service credits for this month, we are going to issue an early payroll for you guys. So early next week. So it won't be on the 1st, so it'll be early next week. That's it.
That's it, Mr. Chairman, thank you.
All right, Chair recognizes Commissioner Parks.
You said all the files are moved out of Michael Dunn Center?
Correct.
So are we still paying a rental bill over there? Or is
Yeah.
that, how's that rental?
We haven't paid rent all year.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, we have money in the budget. But Southern's been a great landlord, to say the least. And they're just interested in us getting out of there as soon as possible.
Okay, I didn't know that.
Chair recognizes Commissioner Berry.
Mr. Executive, can we try to get this award and entered into our TCSA achievement awards?
Absolutely.
I think that's kind of stuff that's indicative of that. And secondly, if you haven't been to the health department, go by. It's a beautiful, beautiful place. We're extremely lucky. We've got a young man who's worked his hiney off, I guess, making all these records and things. If you cleared them all out from Michael Dunn, you've done a good job. You sleep well at night. There were boxes and boxes, but it's a beautiful place, a place that we can be very, very proud of, and Laura and her folks will make sure they maintain it. So thank you, Mr. Chairman.
All right. No one else, and County Executive's done, will go on to special orders. Confirmation of reappointment of the following people in the Roane County Purchasing Commission for a term of 2 years. 1, Wade Cresswell, Jason Pollock, Sean Hensley, Dana West, Ben Wilson, and Lynn Farnham. Thank you. Next time I'll just say Reed. All right, motion by Bracken, second by Henderson. Commissioner Bracken.
Nothing.
Commissioner Henderson.
Nothing further.
Commissioner Hooks.
I'm good.
All right, any discussion? All right, hearing none, seeing none, Madam Clerk. Motion carries 14. Confirmation of appointment of Jennifer Hasbrook as Budget Director. Motion by Henderson, second by Wilson. Commissioner Henderson.
She's done a wonderful job, and I sure will do even better in the future. I appreciate you.
Commissioner Wilson.
You're sitting too close to me not to vote for it.
All right, any discussion? Hearing none, seeing none, Madam Clerk. Confirmation of appointment of Sherry Hopgood, help me out somebody, Broadus as a Roane County representative to the Ocoee Regional Library Board. Motion by Henderson, second by Duff. Commissioner Henderson.
Nothing further.
Commissioner Duff.
Nothing.
Any discussion? Hearing none, seeing none, Madam Clerk. Motion carries 14. Confirmation of appointment of April Miller to the position of Director of Emergency Management Services. Motion by Wilson, second by Gann. Commissioner Wilson.
This is, you can't say enough about April. She has really done a fantastic job. She's taken the bull by the horns. And she's just, you can't say enough about her. She has a heart of gold, and she's the right person for that job. So we appreciate April. She's doing fantastic.
All right, Commissioner Gann.
We're all very proud of her accomplishments, sir.
Commissioner Parks.
So I think this is supposed to be emergency medical services, not emergency management services.
Correct.
So can we amend special order? How's that work?
Just make a motion to amend it to say medical instead of management.
All right, motion to amend, say medical instead of management. Do I hear a second?
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye. Good catch.
Thank you, Travis.
He's on.
Mr. Chairman, I'd like to point out something. If, on your rundown, if you all will refer to page 3, this is one of the reasons why I'm making this nomination. These are our reports through September. If you look there, you'll see our calls for EMS are down pretty significant. You know, you'll see 24 to 25 calls have decreased. And then you look at the next chart, which shows that the revenue we're receiving per transport has gone up significantly, a great deal. To the extent that if you look at the third table there, our revenue is higher this year than it was last year, just on revenue per transport. That is because April got in the car and went to meet with our billing company and showed them things that they didn't even know about themselves, some inconsistencies, some errors, and they were able to iron out their policies and procedures for how they're going to work with us, which I think they ended up applying to other customers as well. And this is the result that you see from that. That's just an example of excellent management. April has been nominated to receive a national award at a national conference in Las Vegas coming up in the coming months. She's appeared on a podcast that had been hosted statewide. She is an absolute authority, and we are lucky to have her. And I wanted you all to see that these reports are a direct reflection of her work that are benefit not just to the people that we serve, but we pick up in ambulances, but to the taxpayers in Roane County as well. That's all.
All right, any other discussion? Hearing none, seeing none, Madam Clerk. All right, motion carries. Confirmation of appointment of the following people to the Roane County E911 Board due to upcoming December 2024 expiration of terms. Keith Farmer, Fire Board Representative, Robert Anderson, Rockwood Representative, 2-year term. Tony Brown, Kingston Representative, 3-year term. David Laxton, Olive Springs Representative, 2-year term. Motion by Commissioner Berry, second by Commissioner Goss. Commissioner Berry.
Would that be approved, Mr. Chairman?
Commissioner Goss.
The only thing I got to say, Mr. Chairman, is that this gives this board a broad base of the different type of emergencies that services that Roane County provides. So you're getting input from fire and law enforcement, government, and all. So I can make it very good.
All right, any other discussion? Hearing none, seeing none, Madam Clerk. Motion carries 14. All right, we're moving into our regular business portion of the meeting. First thing up is our zoning resolution. This is resolution number 10-2402, Zulu, zoning of the airport. Do I have a motion? Motion and a second. Motion by Commissioner Brackett, a second by Commissioner Henderson. Commissioner Brackett.
I think it's been discussed, and I don't see any reason why they wouldn't go.
Commissioner Henderson.
Nothing further.
All right, any discussion? Hearing none, seeing none, Madam Clerk. All right, motion carries. Thank you, whoever just gave me a call.
I'm tired of hearing you call.
God bless you too.
You South of River Boy.
Yeah. All right. Moving right along. Resolution 10-2401, a resolution to amend the budget in the General Fund 101 for the Juvenile Department to include necessary funds to cover the cost of a new engine. Motion by Commissioner Gann, a second by Commissioner Kirby. Commissioner Gann.
With new budget approved.
Commissioner Kirby.
Nothing.
Any discussion? Hearing none, seeing none, Madam Clerk. Motion carries. 14, Resolution 102402, a resolution reflecting change in expenditures in the General Fund 101. Motion by Kirby, second by Commissioner Henderson. Commissioner Kirby.
Nothing further.
Commissioner Henderson.
Further.
Any discussion? Hearing none, seeing none, Madam Clerk. Motion carries. 102403, amending, motion to, a resolution amending General Fund 101 reflecting changes in the revenues expenditure estimates for the Health Department grant for local health services. Motion by Commissioner Henderson, second by Commissioner Hooks. Commissioner Henderson.
Nothing further, sir.
Commissioner Hooks.
Went to the budget committee recommended adoption.
All right, any discussion? Hearing none, seeing none, Madam Clerk. Motion carries. 14. Resolution 102404, a resolution appropriating state grant funding in the General Fund 101 for the local health and educational support reimbursement. Motion by Parks, second by Gann. Commissioner Parks.
Nothing further.
Commissioner Gann.
Nothing further.
Any discussion? All right, hearing none, seeing none, Madam Clerk. Motion carries. Resolution 102405, resolution to amend the budget in the General Fund 101 for the Register of Deeds Office for the salaries and benefits. Motion by Wilson, second by Gann. Commissioner Wilson.
I think we've discussed everything on this, nothing further.
Commissioner Gann.
Nothing further.
Any discussion? Hearing none, seeing none, Madam Clerk. Motion carries. Resolution 102406, a resolution to reflect changes spender in the opioid settlement fund 127. Motion by Commissioner Berry, a second by Commissioner Kirby. Commissioner Berry.
Yes, CASA does a lot of excellent things for our kids, and especially with the court system, and highly recommend we pass this.
Commissioner Kirby.
Nothing further.
All right, any discussion? Hearing none, seeing none, Madam Clerk. Motion carries. 14. Resolution 102407, resolution to reflect changes revenue expenditure fund in the general debt service fund 151 for the school energy efficient loan. Motion by Wilson, second by Gann. Commissioner Wilson.
Yeah, I would like to defer if Eric is here. I don't know if Eric is. Derek, I didn't say it, Derek.
No, I'll try to.
If you could, please,
I
yeah.
may not be able to.
Just explain on a little bit for the commission board.
Yeah, so the energy efficiency loan, this commission approved us entering into that agreement about 3 years ago. You know, we are not allowed to receive debt as a school system, so you all as the county entities had to receive that debt. It's a state grant, very low interest rate. It's a 0.5% interest rate over 16 years. And we did, we put $5 million of our fund balance with the 3.7 that we borrowed through the EESI loan. And we did our train projects. We replaced tons of HVAC systems, our lighting systems, some water fixtures. And now we're paying back that 3.9% at a 0.5% interest over 16 years. So that's, that was 3 years ago. We finished the project probably 5 months ago. So now we're paying down that debt. And no money from the commission, that's all within our funds, so.
Thank you.
And I'd like to add, that's our only school debt.
All right, Commissioner Berry.
That was the energy savings that they were supposed to generate beyond what it cost us, right?
Yes, it's guaranteed energy savings that covers the cost of that.
We own.
Well, we're outperforming their projections at this moment, so we're doing really well.
Okay, so that's money coming back to you.
Well, yeah, technically, yeah, that's that much less money we're spending each month, and. Yeah.
So you're just paying back the original amount?
Yeah, well, we put 5 million, like I said, out of our fund balance with it, so we did a lot of projects, we had tons of, I don't have the numbers as far as how many HVAC units, but they're more economical, better air
You
quality.
recommend?
Well, we've had a really good experience, training was good to work with, they partnered well, and they're really responsive. There was some growing pains with the thermostat controls, and, we're trying to save money, so everybody they didn't have a free range of their thermostats in their classrooms anymore. There's some adjustment that goes along with that, but it's saving the taxpayers money, so that's what we did.
All right, any other discussion? Hearing none, seeing none, Madam Clerk. All right, motion carries 14. Resolution 102408, resolution to increase the appropriations in the General Capital Project Fund 171 ARP for the Office of Emergency Service. Motion by Commissioner Goss, Commissioner Parks, Commissioner Goss.
Nothing further, sir. I think Lane just said.
Commissioner Parks.
Nothing further.
All right, any discussion? Hearing none, seeing none, Madam Clerk. Commissioner Hooks, Country Board. Thank you, sir. 14. Resolution to reflect changes in the expenditures for the General Capital Projects Fund 171 ambulance to purchase cardiac monitor batteries. That's 102409. Motion by Goss, second by Duff. Commissioner Goss.
Well, if you're having a heart attack, we want to make sure they got the right equipment and things to work safe, so they gotta have.
Commissioner Duff.
Nothing further.
Any discussion? Hearing none, seeing none, Madam Clerk. All right, motion carries 14. All right, resolution 102410, resolution to reclassify the appropriations to the state budget of $52,781 that has been formally approved by the state. Motion by Parks, second by Duff. Commissioner Parks.
Nothing further.
Commissioner Duff.
Nothing.
All right, any discussion? Hearing none, seeing none, Madam Clerk. Motion carries. 102411, a resolution to adopt the 2025 long-range strategic master plan for Roane County. Motion by Duff, second by Goss. Commissioner Duff.
Turn it over to Mr. Cresswell.
Sure. But wait, before we do it,
Sure.
Commissioner Goss.
I agree.
Thank you. I just had to get it tabled on the floor.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. You all see the attached long-term strategic plan. We started, I think the long-range planning committee began meeting towards this goal in November of '22. So you're looking at 2 years of work that it took to get to this. And you all know from sitting through these meetings of how much it took. It took lots of stakeholders bringing input, community input, but also you all helping shape and guide a document that's going to create the direction for your staff for operations of government to go. You all also know that this does not conclude our work by any stretch of the imagination. This just gets us started, but it gives us a great starting place. I'm really proud that you all are considering approving the very first long-term comprehensive strategic plan. And I just want to thank everybody that's worked really hard on this.
All right, any other discussion? Chair recognizes Commissioner Berry.
Mr. Chairman, just one thing, is there some way that we could have a workshop? I mean, this is great information, and if we could have a workshop or something because you mentioned it's ongoing, so we're gonna take this and build off of this.
I think there's an opportunity to, so the next phase of this is, we talked about focusing on land use planning. And the land use planning portion of this will depend on this document as a basis. And Brooke and Glenn and I have already started talking about what that next meeting is going to look like. If you all want it to be in a work session format, then I think we'd be more than happy to do it. Because then we could walk through a lot of the basic information in the comp plan.
That could be a good idea.
Yeah, there's a lot, y'all done a great
It's a
job.
lot of information.
Lot of great.
Yeah, there's a lot of data points on there that's been gathered, so.
Thank you.
Yeah, we can definitely look at that.
Okay, thank you.
And just so you all know too, for those that didn't take part of these discussions, this sets the baseline for really two things, because this is what came out of the discussions. We know we're growing. If we do nothing, we're growing. But we don't want to grow in a way that happens as if we do nothing. So this is what the next phase of this is going to accomplish two things. It's going to help us grow where we want to grow in the ways that we want to grow. And it's going to protect us from growing in ways we don't want to grow, in places we don't want to grow. That's where this next document is going to take us. And there are several people on that committee that were very protective to make sure that we don't grow in ways that we don't want to have happen. So that's absolutely going to be a key focus in what we do moving forward in land use planning. Mr. Chairman, would you agree with that statement?
I agree with it, and restricting some land use, is probably right, but, that's me.
That's why I brought it up.
Yeah. Chair recognizes Commissioner Goss.
Mr. Chairman, I'd like to recognize Andreas. She was phenomenal. She's a representative that helped get stuff, and she stayed with us. She brought in a lot of information, a lot of knowledge. So, you know, we need to give her a big thank for her help.
Thank you, sir. I didn't know she was here. I appreciate it. Andreas led us through this whole process with community development partners. We were not an easy herd of cats to manage, but she did a good job with it.
All right, any other discussion? Hearing none, seeing none, Madam Clerk. Commissioner Berry, you had something?
Yes, sir. I was gonna see, first of all, I was gonna say, this committee did a phenomenal job. I was here by accident. I thought we were having a school liaison committee, and they were meeting, so I sat in on it. They analyzed, critiqued. I mean, they did a great job, and I think your direction before they met helped tremendously set the tone.
You're actually speaking about the next resolution, not the one we just voted on.
Oh, I'm sorry. I thought you got me back on that.
Please go ahead and vote on this one then.
I will.
And then I'll give the floor back to you. Because for some reason, I was thinking, he's talking about long-range planning.
Well, you did a good job on that one.
So, please, the floor is back yours after you vote.
Okay, I'll vote.
Okay, thank you. I may run the fever too and delusional, so.
Actually, what I was really trying to do was to see if we could amend that, to add Joe Caldwell to our jail alternative committee to get the judicial system in on the jail deal. But the committee did a great job. It was as good. They're to be congratulated.
Yeah, and thank you for that. And the way we set that up as well, guys, I will set that in the fairest condition that we can. We required 5 commissioners to be on 30-something, 26 or 30 subcommittees that equaled out to 180 targets of opportunity with 15 shooters, and it broke down to 12 targets per shooter. You know, that's, divide and conquer right there. So, Chair recognizes Commissioner Kirby.
Mr. Chairman, I'd like to comment on one, Mr. Berry. Is that going to be the form of a motion to put Mr. Caldwell on the jail alternative?
Well, we can accept it as a friendly amendment from the chairman of that committee. I think that would be appropriate, would it not, County Attorney?
Yes.
And then also, with that, I had some notes on that. We're not filling the RV committee and we're not filling the noise committee. We wrote the RV into law, so we're not filling those two committees. We'll have one more ARP meeting and then we will cancel it. And please, chairmen, as you get elected into these 26 or I forget what it was, 36 subcommittees. If you see one subcommittee out there that doesn't no longer need to exist, come back to this body and tell us and say, hey, we can combine this one with that one, whatever. But I try to divide that so that some people want on 18 subcommittees and increase your quality of life and stuff because I get irritable when I'm on 18 committees and,
Or two.
yeah.
But we are keeping the airport committee.
Yeah, temporarily until the decision point comes to hit, and when we can kill that one, let's kill that one too.
That's good.
So,
So we can kill it soon.
yeah. All right, thank you, sir. Chair recognizes Commissioner Parks.
On the, I'd like to make a friendly amendment also. Committee on committees, it still has last year's committee on committees. It needs to be changed to this year's, which would be.
And so what he's referring to in the front of that resolution, it has the committee on committees current, but then on the spreadsheet, it has the old. So all we're asking is that be moved from old to present in a friendly amendment.
I'll second that.
You a second, Commissioner? All right, so all those in favor?
Aye.
All right, thank you all. All right, any other discussion on committee on committees?
Mr. Chairman, we just want to thank the service of Commissioner Cunningham, Parks, Kirby, and Mr. Kirby. Appreciate y'all. As Mr. Berry said, we really appreciate you sending in your list of requested committees. Not everyone got on a committee they wanted to be on, but not everyone got on every committee. So just thank you for your service.
And this is probably the first year since I've only been chairman 2 other times, but I've never heard anybody call and complain to me about it. What they didn't get on the certain committee they wanted on, so appreciate that. And next year, next term, if you weren't on it in the last 2 years, you'll be on it next time. And I'll give that same guidance each and every year. Chair recognizes Commissioner Brackett.
Just so I'm up to speed, there's an amendment to add Mr. Caldwell to this?
Yes, to the jail alternate.
Okay.
And then the amendment to move the committee on committees current. All right. All right, any other discussion? Hearing none, seeing none, Madam Clerk. Motion carries 14. All right, resolution 1024-13, a resolution establishing the committees of the Roane County Commission for the period of October 21st through 2024 to October 31st, 2025. Motion by Berry, second by Kirby. Commissioner Berry.
Yes, this is the green light for veterans.
It's fine. 13. It's fine. So let's do 13 before we do 14. How about that?
We're good. A couple of years ago, NACO started a national program to honor veterans by asking all county buildings to be lit with green, and we did that last year here. We're just asking that we include all of our county buildings, our municipal buildings, and that our veterans understand that that's in their honor. So that would just be, and I think we're already lined up to do that with our buildings.
Yeah, we're in the process of buying more green bulbs.
Right. So thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you. All right, motion from Berry, second by Kirby. Mr. Kirby, anything? Since I read the wrong one. All right, any discussion? Hearing none, seeing none, Madam Clerk. Motion carries 14. All right. 1024-14, a resolution approving the 20-year agreement for the delivery and treatment of certain wastewater flows and to convey wastewater utility property and facilities between Wattsmore Utility District of Ray County, Meigs, and Roane County, the release of wastewater obligations to the Roane Regional Business and Technology Park and the city of Lenoir City, Tennessee. Motion by Hendricks, second by Hooks. Commissioner Hendricks.
I have nothing.
Commissioner Hooks.
Been a long time. Glad we got there.
Chair recognizes Commissioner Berry.
Yes, sir. Mr. Executive. Yes, sir. Disagreement. In disagreement, we're giving up our 750,000 gallons of retained usage.
We are,
Are we keeping any?
not as a reserve. No. It comes down to me, I think this can best be described if you look at the last page, which is a map. It comes down to this. Y'all want to refer to that map on the last page of this. What's in green is the Roane Regional Business Technology Park. That's what's currently served in the current agreement when there's a 750,000 gallon reserve for wastewater services with LCUB. This agreement is to allow Watts Bar utility to serve the park, and they will be a single customer of LCUB who will still provide the services to Watts Bar utility at a single tap. And Wesley Barger from Watts Bar Utilities here. With the new agreement and no reserve, LCUB will allow Watts Bar to extend services into the orange areas. And the orange areas are on one side of the interstate where the park is now, targeted for industrial growth, and then on the other side of the interstate, it's targeted for residential growth. So with the agreement, we can expand. Without the agreement,
So they're telling us in the orange, on a line that we paid for, that if there was a development on that other side in the orange, they wouldn't take care of it?
that's exactly what they're telling us. Let me refer to Mr. Barger.
That is correct.
That's correct, right? Yeah. They will not serve that under the current agreement. No expansion.
Because they can't serve outside the park, they don't have the rights. Technically, they don't have the rights to serve in the park right now.
Watts Bar has the rights outside the park. And Watts Bar can't provide the service without this agreement. Justin Stowe's here too, and represent the IDB. So we can answer these for you. But it comes down to the ability to expand.
So
the ability not to.
can we negotiate to expand there and keep so the reserve is all we've had. That's all if you've seen, what is that, 441 going up through there now? 321. They don't even sell it by the acre anymore. They sell it by the foot because Roane County paid $2.8 million to provide that sewer line. And the 750 was our only hold because when they got within 80%, they were going to have to do something to their plant, and then we could have come back and negotiated.
So here's where I was okay with it, is that our current usage of wastewater right now is so low compared, and we're not recruiting, we won't recruit companies that will be high users. It's just the facilities that we're building now.
Except in the orange over here, maybe.
And it's not to say that we're going to be restricted, but it would be like any other situation. If you're growing into new territory, you go back to the utility and see if they can provide the service.
So what's to prevent them from coming, if we had a big residential area and a commercial area coming in, and then them saying, we're not going to be able to do that under the current situation because we're at our 80%, we can't afford to expand our plant. So therefore, we're not going to allow you to do this.
They couldn't do that just in those areas. That would have to be a system-wide issue for them.
Okay.
But Wes, would you agree with that?
If they hit 80%, then that triggers them to TDEC.
That's what I'm saying, is, and so they can come back and say, we can't do it because we're not going to expand.
Yeah, but right now, of the 750,000 gallons per day, they're all using 6 to 12,000.
Right now.
Yeah, but we don't see it increasing.
Not significantly enough to require reserve.
Okay.
I understand where you're coming from. I do.
I just have to vote no because of all the stuff that's gone on before. Okay.
I understand.
Thank you.
Chair recognizes Commissioner Henderson.
And how long have we been waiting to get this signed? Because I think I brought it up a few years ago. It's time to get
This
out.
was initiated by Senator Yeager when he was county executive on December 31st, 1999.
Thank you.
All right, any other discussion? Hearing none, seeing none, Madam Clerk. Motion carries 13-1. All right. Resolution 1024-15. Resolution to authorize the approval to execute a 36-month agreement with the Comcast business for supply fiber internet connections to the ambulance substation, animal shelter, sheriff's training facility, and to replace a coax connection for the sheriff's department. Motion by Wilson, second by Kirby. Commissioner Wilson.
Pretty self-explanatory.
Commissioner Kirby. All right, any discussion? Madam Clerk. Motion carries 14. Resolution 1024-16, a resolution to authorize the execution of a 3-year agreement with AT&T to provide fiber internet and phone connection to the Roane County Health Department for Record Storage Department. Motion by Commissioner Wilson, second by Gans. Commissioner Wilson.
Nothing further.
Commissioner Gans.
Nothing, sir.
Madam Clerk. All right. 1024-17, a resolution approving lease agreement between Roane County, Tennessee and Claus and Paul's for a cause. Motion by, come on now, Milwaukee. Motion by Henderson, second by Hamilton. Commissioner Henderson.
Nothing further.
Commissioner Hamilton.
No, sir.
All right, any discussion? All right, hearing none, seeing none, Madam Clerk. Commissioner Murray, hit that last, yes,
Mr. Chairman, before we leave,
motion carries 14, go ahead, Commissioner Wilson.
Mr. Chairman, before we leave, I'd like to recognize Tim Suter. It's his birthday today. He spent it. Jennifer had a big meal planned for him at home, so it's getting cold, isn't that right?
Yeah. All right, any other business come before the county commission? Hearing none, seeing none. Motion to adjourn. Second, all those in favor? Aye.